What's going on, everyone? So yesterday, ESPN released this graphic showing the toughest team to predict. This is an NBA GM survey, and the Lakers were number one as far as a team that's just really hard to predict. Are they going to be a play-in team? Are they going to be one of the top teams? Are they going to be a contender this year? Right? And that's fair. With the Lakers this year, there are so many uncertainties. There's so many questions, right? Like, Lakers were good last year, right? Finished with 47 wins. Yes, they were still a play-in team, but outside of a little hiccup where they lost 10 out of 13 games, they would have been a top 4 seed. They won the in-season tournament. Everybody was like, hey, as long as they don't play Denver, because they just can't seem to beat Denver, they may end up being in the NBA Finals. And Lakers, lo and behold, end up playing Denver. You had some issues with coaching, right, to put it nicely. And now you have this team returning. And I know some people look at that as a kind of hindrance, like, oh, this team's terrible. But again, a lot of people act like this team won 37 games. Even with all the issues last year, all the consistency problems, all the injuries, Darvin Ham and his lack of coaching ability, even with that 10 out of 13 game losing streak, right? Like, you still finished with 47 wins. You still were, towards the back half of the season, the second best, I think, overall offensive team in the league, but you were a very good offense. Defensively, you really struggled. But Darvin Ham also made no adjustments, no changes, didn't do anything, right? And so I do understand the concerns. Like, I understand pushback. I just don't understand why people are just like, oh, Lakers are trash, all these other teams. Like, who really got better? Like, which team got that much better this offseason that the Lakers have no shot in beating? Right? Even the Thunder. I think the Thunder arguably had the best offseason outside of the Knicks just because they really solved some needs. But it also doesn't help with their lack of size and mismatch against the Lakers. But also, like, Sacramento, I don't think is going to be very... Like, the last thing Sacramento needed was isolation-heavy, non-shooting three, on-ball scorer, right? Like, you have two of them. They needed more 3-and-D guys, right? You're talking about a guy that, I mean, go look at DeMar DeRozan and the teams he's on and the pace. Like, the Sacramento Kings are every year top 3 in pace. They're also one of the top 3 to 5 teams in 3-point attempts, right? Like, DeMar DeRozan makes no sense. Dallas, still a question mark, right? Like, even Mark Cuban talked about a lot of maybes and what ifs with Klay Thompson. Like, Dallas isn't even so sure Klay Thompson makes them better. And they didn't win on their offense. They got to the finals on their defense. And so that's concerning. Denver got worse. They're still going to be very good, but they got worse. You look at, the Clippers, they're probably still going to be potentially, depending on how many games Kawhi plays, still could be pretty good, but they got worse, right? Like, the Pelicans are Brandon Ingram away from imploding, right? Like, there's just, again, I don't think it's that far-fetched. But then you get stuff like this, right? Brian Windhorst, who just, has that guy ever been right about anything ever? I actually think the Lakers are relatively easy to predict. I think they're probably headed for the play. Brian Windhorst and Kendrick Perkins react to Lakers being voted as the toughest team to predict by NBA GMs this season. Again, Brian Windhorst just says stuff at times. Right? Like, there's no, like, analytical integrity, nothing. He just, like, he is a notorious Laker hater. Like, even when I talk about reports that Brian Windhorst has presented about the Lakers, I always say, it's Brian Windhorst, to take it with a grain of salt. Like, he's the only one that I say that stuff for. Because, like, when is he ever right about stuff that isn't already previously reported by someone else? Like, I don't think I've ever seen, especially with the Lakers, a prediction or just, like, an actual, like, trade rumor or whatever that he personally reports or mentions and he's right about it. Like, if you could think of a time, please, I'd love to hear it. That he was one of the first people to get to. He's always, it's like, and I get it, these shows, you got to have the good cop, bad cop. You got to have the one that's just willing to just throw out stuff. Brian Windhorst, like, who really takes Brian Windhorst serious? Not even, like, remove the Laker conversation for it, because he is a notorious Laker hater. But, like, most fan bases, when Brian Windhorst says something about their organization, they're kind of like, it's Brian Windhorst. Like, I see comments and tweets and all kinds of stuff all the time where people are like, the source is Brian Windhorst. Like, it's almost like a running joke at this time. But my thing is, like, I understand if you want to be critical. I understand if you have pushback or, you're skeptical about, like, how is this going to play out. But, again, like, do it with some integrity. Do it with some, like, non-bias. Like, because I'm a diehard Laker guy. Literally make a living talking about the Lakers. And even I have talked and made videos diving into the pros and cons of the Lakers this year. I've even recently made a video diving about the defensive concerns. And even last year, right? Even when the Lakers were 9-0 with the Rui Hachimura, when he got moved in the starting line, I repeatedly was like, I don't know how I feel about the starting lineup. Offensively, they're great. Defensively, they're terrible. What happens when they get to the playoffs and the offense stalls? And guess what happened? They got to the playoffs, the offense stalls. Like, is there some form of bias? Sure, I'm sure I have moments, right? I am a Laker fan. I'm sure that there are there are moments where, I'm supportive and confident in players or coaches or whatever, when I maybe shouldn't be, but I don't want to actively root against my team. I don't want to actively root against a player on my team. I want to hope for the best. To me, it's more optimism than just bias, right? Like, I try, and again, I'm not saying I've never had a biased take or I've never had a biased opinion. Again, I am a Laker fan. Whether I realize it or not, I am sure that there are probably moments that are biased. I try to be as fair and transparent. And look, I defended Darvin Ham early on last season until I couldn't anymore. Until it was like, all right. People were like, man, you were so defensive of Darvin Ham. And it's like, because again, I don't want to see him fail. Because he fails, guess what? The Lakers fail. And what happened? He failed and the Lakers failed. Right? Like, I want to have success. But to me, it's just, you also have a responsibility. You're talking about national television. You're talking about millions of people that are watching these shows. Right? Like, again, I understand having biases. I understand having things. But can we at least be honest? Right? Like, to say it's easy. Like, if you want to say, hey, my personal opinion, I think that, but it's not how he phrased it. It's not how he talked about it. He talked about it like he was certain, like he knew the Lakers were going to be. And like I talk about it, I say it all the time. I don't say anything is 100%. Even when people are like, try to push me on it. I always say, I'll never say anything is 100% when you're talking about sports. I'm never going to speak in definitives because I don't know. It's sports, right? I have my thoughts. I have my opinions. I have my thoughts. I have my beliefs. But that doesn't mean I know, right? If you've watched enough sports, you know crazy things happen. And last year, there was a lot of conversation this time last year of, are the Lakers a real contender? Lakers got Christian Wood, and it was like, oh, is he the piece that puts you over the top? Oh, Lakers might be the best team in the league, and yada, 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 right? They brought all their core back, all that stuff. And then even through their struggles, even when we were approaching the playoffs, and they're getting ready to play the Pelicans in the play-in, the conversation was, as long as they don't play Denver, they're probably in the NBA Finals. How do we go from that to Lakers are the worst team in the league when no one really, again, who got that better? Now, look, maybe DeMar DeRozan works out perfectly and Sacramento is great. Maybe, the Warriors are just too good and Steph puts on the cape and becomes Superman, right? Like, maybe. But you could say the same stuff about the Lakers. If we're talking hypotheticals, maybe the Lakers win the championship this year, right? Maybe the Lakers are the best team in the league. It's just, I look at this and it's just like, again, speaking in definitive, if you want to say, I believe, or my opinion, or whatever, again, integrity. Have some understanding rather than just like, oh, well, no, this is, what are you talking about? How is this a tough prediction? It's easy. Lakers are headed for a play-in. Like, you have a crystal ball, you're a fortune teller, you're a mind reader, and then what's going to happen when they aren't? What if they're a top 3 or 4 seed? Then what? Or they win the championship, then what? oh, good for them, right? Like, you look silly, right? Again, let these people hate on the Lakers. I have said repeatedly that I think the Lakers can win the championship, but I wouldn't bet on it, right? Like, do they have a puncher's chance? Absolutely. Do they get the right matchups? Could they be in the NBA Finals? Sure. No one would be shocked if the Lakers win the NBA championship. Why? Because they have LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Right? So the fact that all the GMs who are doing an anonymous, unbiased, why? Because it's anonymous. There's no question about, like, you know, like people that hate the Lakers, organizations that hate the Lakers, organizations that love the Lakers, all get to be honest. And they all honestly concluded that the Lakers are the toughest team to gauge, which is true. I get that. Now, again, I have no problems with people being critical of the Lakers. I have been and will continue to be critical of the Lakers. And the players. I've called out and talked about all these guys, right? Like, good and bad. I think the Lakers have a chance to win a championship. Again, I wouldn't bet on it. I wouldn't even put $1 on it. Right? There's some years that I'm like, yeah, I'll throw, $100 on it and let's see what happens. It's not one of those years. Now, if a trade happens or something crazy happens, maybe my opinion will change. But as of right now, I think the Lakers will be a top 5 offense in the league at worst. They were, second in the league towards the back half of the season. I don't think that's going to change. And J.J. Redick is going to be even better offensively as a head coach than Darvin Ham was. Let people keep sleeping on the Lakers. It's going to be that much more sweeter when things happen, right? When the Lakers are actually good. And then you got to listen to Brian Windhorst. Well, the Lakers are actually pretty, I knew it all along. I'm like, no, you didn't. Right? And it's crazy that it's always ESPN, right? Like, you never hear anybody else. You'll hear other sports syndications and stuff like that be critical of the Lakers. You'll hear people talk about the Lakers in a not so positive light. But it's like every time I'm doing one of these videos, it's because it's ESPN. It's somebody on ESPN just being outrageous, right? Like, when do we get to the outrageousness? Like, you have to be all crazy and outrageous. Like, can't you just give a take, an opinion? Like, if Brian Windhorst came on and was like, hey, look, I understand why the Lakers are voted that, but, I think personally that the Lakers are a play-in team. I think personally that the Lakers are... I wouldn't even have mentioned it. I wouldn't even have made a video about it. I mean, plenty of people have spoken negatively about the Lakers, but they usually go, I believe, or my opinion, or my thoughts are not, the Lakers are you basically guaranteed that they're going to be a play-in team, that they're headed for the playoffs, right? Like, stop. It's silly. But we'll see. Time will tell. I'm going to be excited when we look back and go, all right, well, glad we proved all these people wrong. We'll see. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass a question to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel with your thoughts? Do you agree with my points? Disagree with my points? Does it frustrate you as much as it frustrates me? Or do you think, nah, let them talk. It is whatever. I feel whatever your thoughts are. Love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out. Lets me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.